Hello my loves. I know it's been a little while. As I mentioned in my last video, I have really been taking my time to reconstruct a lot in my life, including my business. Sometimes things need to change, and that's definitely what's happening. So yes, this will be a bit of a collective channel message, but this will also be some of my teachings and lived experiences that are important to share, because I feel a lot of people are still struggling with so much of this, including myself. But we're in it together, so let's talk about it together. I'm also going to do my makeup while I talk. Firstly, let us talk about the emotional states of everything that's been going on. When you feel an emotion, if you have experienced trauma or a kind of conditioning that has often made you be so hyper aware of what is outside of you, you have actually learned the opposite of what is natural to us as humans. The reason that we can feel things and the reason that we get illness and ailments and aches and pains and injuries is because our emotions are stored in our body. And the way in which we are meant to feel and learn from these emotions and the things that are inside of us is through feeling and processing them through our body, right? My cats are about to fight. Don't do it. If you hear running around, that's them. Had to take one out. Okay, as I was saying, when it comes to your emotions, we are meant to feel them. But as I said, when it comes to conditioning and trauma, many of us, are taught to actually put our awareness outside of us and regulate or attune to what is going on around us. So if you grew up in an unsafe household and you had an unsafe childhood, and you learn as a child that you had to act and feel and be a certain way to make outside of you safe, you would have learned to be hyper aware of your outside environment and actually a lot of the time ignore what was going on inside of you. This happened to me. I have a very narcissistic mother, and before she learned to do any sort of regulation, which she's still kind of learning to do, she was just a very unsafe, unstable person to be around. And I was the eldest of 4 siblings, and I had to learn to regulate her emotions by always being okay. So my emotions became unimportant. And I had to keep the household safe and stable by being so acutely aware of everything she was feeling and everything she was going through. So again, I could adapt and survive and make it okay. That's a lot of responsibility. But this is an example of when you go through types of trauma and conditioning and you're forced to actually be attuned to outside of you, you don't have the skills that is actually natural to us to be aware of what's going on inside of you. So your emotions become an afterthought. Your emotions, your boundaries, the feelings that you get inside, everything that you would receive internally, the first level of receiving is my course path to receiving. Nova, what are you doing? My cat is right there. She's gonna fall over. Anyway, you actually become unbalanced because this video is already so chaotic and it really didn't need to be, but that's fine. There's a fly on the window and my cat just decided to fall on top of everything. That's okay. Keep going. Essentially, if you experience any type of conditioning or trauma that makes you focus on the outside and not the inside, you will then struggle in later life to identify your emotions, to feel and process your emotions, and then to regulate from said emotions. And this is when trauma gets stuck in the body. This is when you might develop autoimmune diseases, ailments, pain, injuries, physical chronic struggles, or again, mental disorders, anything internally that is out of balance and causes you suffering or struggle. It is because of unfelt, unprocessed, and stuck emotions, because you were taught to focus on your external world, not your internal. Okay, this is the root of so many issues, and it applies to all of us in similar shared energetic patterns, but because of our perception, they show up for us quite personally and quite individually. Okay, but there's always the same root energetic structure and patterning that goes on. If you know anything about epigenetics, you would hear about this. And basically, when you're in this space, and if you've grown up now and you struggle with chronic illness, if you struggle with mental disorders, if you struggle with anything internally that is out of balance and it's also reflected in your external world feels out of balance, and there's just this build-up of things that are hard and heavy and stuck and not moving, it always comes back to those emotions, those energies that are stuck inside of you, that need that release, that your body needs to feel safe in order to feel them and move through them. And this is the process that I articulate and teach in a framework called Path of Pain to Power. It covers my 4 main principles of teachings, which is the 5 pillars of everything, but I discuss the 4, where it is existence, experience, expansion, and evolution. The 5th being enlightenment, but that's not a part of this right now. But essentially, you learn in this framework how to reconnect with your internal world so that you can start accepting, identifying emotions, feeling them, understanding the patterns and the ways that these stuck energies, emotions show up in your life through attachment, through perception, through dynamics, relationships to self, to anything outside of you, but also survival patterns that you might have in your body or just in your world in general. Patterns in the mind, patterns in the body, patterns in the outside world, okay? You learn all of this. And in the 4th pillar, evolution, you learn through that process that I just listed how to then integrate new ways of being and new ways of operating that are actually natural to you, but you were not conditioned with because of your experiences growing up, because you were taught, again, to be attuned to the external world and not the internal. This is key. These steps are key for everyone to know and to learn and to practice, because this applies to all things. All things. When you have this framework as a supportive tool for yourself, you learn to reconnect with your internal world, and you learn how to set up practices and rituals and new ways of being and doing in your external world that actually reflect what you want and not just continue to reflect the trauma and conditioning that you were exposed to when you were so young and so able to be programmed and conditioned and absorbent to everything that went on around you, where you believed that what you're experiencing was you, okay? This work helps you go back to your roots and not just understand, but feel what you need to, so that your body learns safety and trust, so that any emotion that comes up, any issue that comes up in your life, you are able and feel confident and capable to experience and move through it, and know that there is a pattern that's showing up that is ready to be dismantled, and new ways of being are ready to be integrated. Okay, we need frameworks like this because we need structure. As much as a lot of us want to resist it, we want freedom, you actually find the most freedom when you have a structure that is you, is supportive of you and your energies and your emotions. This structure, I might have listed a framework that you think, oh, so I'm just going to apply something and just apply it to myself. No, this is already inbuilt in you. This was channeled to me 3 years ago from my spirit team, from spirit, and I have been living this framework for the past 3 years, non-stop, constantly, to understand and to experience and to embody everything that I was told and taught and channeled. I had to experience this so that I could be a teacher of this. And I talk about it a lot, I promote this program a lot, because I know how important it is, because when I didn't have this, I would be stuck in emotional healing loops all the time, thinking I was feeling and healing from my emotions, but soon realizing, after so many of the same repeating cycles again and again, is that maybe I was feeling things, maybe I was, learning to connect a bit better with myself, maybe I was identifying things and understanding things, but I then wasn't changing anything. I got so good at feeling, but staying in the feeling, and so good at identifying, but staying in the patterns, because I became so attached to the cycle of identifying what was wrong with me, when really it was never something that was wrong with me. It was just something that wasn't me, but I was still living it because that's what I knew. The evolution part of these 4 pillars, the part where we have to choose and make choices and practice, is actually the hardest part, because we only know what we know. And when we're so used to something, we're so familiar with it, even if we don't like it, it still feels so a part of us. It still feels like us. And it can be really, really hard to choose different when you've only known a certain way for so long. Even if like I said, even if you hate it so much, even if you're sick of it, it is still hard to choose something different. But that's what this framework does. This framework holds you while you learn to hold yourself through that process of, this is what I want. I know what I want now because I've experienced all that I don't want. And now that you know what you want, you can start step by step choosing it and integrating new ways of being that align with what you want. So for example, if you want to be really, really confident, but you actually feel like you're really shy, introverted, or just you feel like you lack something, you feel like you can't show up that way, you will have certain emotions that have not been felt and not been processed and released. But the other part of it is that you haven't integrated and practiced being confident. And that might sound really simple, like, well, how can I practice confidence if I don't feel confident? That's the point of practice. That's the point of choosing it. You choose things that align with that version of you that is confident, because that's already in you. But if you're not choosing it, how can you be it? This isn't about waiting anymore for someone to come in and save you and to fix all your problems and to fix you and to make you better, and waiting for this light bulb to go off and for you to be this entirely different person. No, the body knows what it knows. And this framework helps you through the process of unlearning what you know so that you feel open to knowing more and then being given the choice to choose more. Again, that more is whatever you're wanting. The version of yourself that you want to be is already inside of you. But because you are so used to being whoever you are now, whoever you have been, you have to show yourself and your body that you can be this person. It can't just be in your mind. It can't just be in your body. And it can't just be in your emotional good days. It needs to be all connected, showing up as that version of you, even when you don't feel like that version of you, because you're still used to knowing what you know. This framework takes you through that process and is there for you when you're still learning to be there for yourself. This isn't about fixing yourself. This isn't about getting rid of who you were. This is about realizing and accepting all of you and allowing yourself to be free internally so that you have the choice. And if you want to feel and be someone else or a different version of you, you have the space to do that because you've done the first steps. And then it'll just be practice. This is about helping you feel capable and empowered and giving you a structure that can hold you whilst you learn what all of that means, whilst you learn to show up that way. It's not easy, but is it worth it? Yes. 3 years of doing this, yes, it is worth it. 110%. I could barely show up on social media when I first had this channel to me. I could barely think about any form of responsibility. I was stuck in so much grief. I had cancer, liver cancer. I healed all of this by reconnecting with myself and choosing who I wanted to be, even when it was hard, even when I wasn't entirely familiar with that version of myself. You experience pain and experience suffering, not because that's all that is available to you, but because you are discovering so much of yourself in that pain. So that you can realize how powerful you are, how capable you are, how much freedom you actually have and have always had. Sometimes we have to go through some really hard things so that we can realize and truly recognize that that's not all that we are. We have to learn. There's lessons in everything. There's always more. This universe is infinitely expanding. We are in this universe. We are connected to this universe. We are examples of it. You are always becoming more. And the more that you allow yourself to be in that process, because it's just movement. It's just movement. The problem is that you're stuck here, thinking that's all that there is. But when you feel, this is what happens. It's waves, it's cycles, and they all connect together. And when you jump on that wave and you flow and you swim with it and you let it take you where it's needing to take you, you see all of it and you recognize all of it, and clarity comes and choices come and more comes. And then you get the space and the ability to become that, whatever that more is. And that's why this program is called Path of Pain to Power, because that's what it is. Pain is not all that there is, but it is a very key part of becoming who we are meant to become. Maybe it sounds cheesy, maybe it sounds cliche and cringe, I don't care. My pain has made me the most confident and powerful version of myself, and I'm becoming more of her every single day. And I don't know what that always looks like. I'm still figuring it out, and that's the whole point. This framework supports me whilst I figure it all out. And that's what it's here for you as well. I don't usually make videos like this. Usually it's mostly just collective messages, but this felt like it needed to reach a few people. And of course I gotta promote myself, my work as well, because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to share what I know and what I have been through, because I want people to realize how uninhibited they actually are. That's all I ever wanted to myself. And when I realized that I've always been uninhibited and always been free, but I needed to let myself be supported through frameworks like this, that's when it shifted. Because you aren't on your own. You aren't all alone. And you don't have to do it all by yourself. It is you, yes. And everything you need is inside of you. But you need support. And you need to feel supported so that you can see and experience what is inside of you and what is ready to become more. Okay, that is the purpose of feminine and masculine energy. Masculine is the structure, the support, and feminine is this beautiful energy that flows and moves and wants to become more. You need both. Without the masculine energy, there would be chaos. There would just be leakage and flowing without any intention, without any leveling up, without any evolution. It would just be nothingness. Everything and nothing. There would be no form. And maybe that sounds wonderful, but in us, if we are emotional and in that space all of the time with no form of structure or support, that's when we stay in those cycles, those emotional cycles, looping, feeling. And I'm not saying don't feel, that's the whole point, feel. But you're also allowed to feel more. You don't have to only feel the pain, that's the point. You're allowed to feel more. And you won't know that there's more unless you have the support, the masculine energy, such as a framework like this, to lead you to the next step, to guide you as you become more, to hold you as you become more. And if there was only masculine, and if there was too much masculine, too much of the external and the structure, then it would limit the feeling, would limit the energy, would restrict before it had the chance to become more. Do you see? Do you see how we need a balance of both? The feeling and the doing, the being and the becoming. That's why I create a Path of Pain to Power. It has everything that you need to end those cycles that you were so sick of. It will hold you if you allow yourself to be held. It is linked in my standstill if you're curious, if you're feeling like this is for you. And for those of you that this message reached, it clearly was for a reason. This still was channeling going on. I'm always channeling when I'm showing up on YouTube. It's just different every time. And I realized I didn't do any of my makeup. I got so caught up in talking, and that's okay. I hope this served you however it needed to serve you. And I hope you realize and know that there is so much more. And that you're allowed to have that more.